off. It was when I was around 5. My mum was sent back to Jamaica. So I had a really close family friend. I used to go to her house every weekend. Me and her son were like inseparable. You know how sometimes we'll call him auntie, but she's not my auntie. We're not related anyway, but she's my auntie. At the time she was anyways. So when my mum got sent back, originally I was staying with my sisters, and they couldn't look after me anymore because one was like 12 and the other one had just had a son. So she couldn't look after me and him at the same time. So I went to stay with her. Everything was great up until like the 1.5-year mark. And then all of a sudden she just became a different person. I don't know if it was something that was going on in her life or not, but she started to physically abuse me. And she used to just lash out all the time. She'd even do it to her sons as well. So, but to me, it was on a different level. So she'd hit me, she would punch me. I think the worst experience I remember is I was in the shower, not even the shower, the bath. And then I got curious. So I stood up on the ledge and I was looking out the window. And then she must have like saw what I was doing. She got angry at me. She shouted at me. She pulled me down. Then she took the soap, a bar of soap, and she shoved it in my mouth. That day, I don't think I registered what happened at the time. But from then on, it only just got worse. It only got worse. And the pinnacle of it is where it was near Christmas. I'm not sure the exact date, but I can't even remember what happened fully, but we got into an altercation, and then she hit me and she kicked me out. And all I remember is finding a way to my sister's house, my older sister's house. And from that point, I stayed with her for maybe a year. And that was when I started going to church. At that time, going to church, I didn't really, they told me who Jesus was and all that stuff, but I wasn't really into it. I remember I got baptized, but again, I still didn't really have an understanding of what it was. I just got baptized because I saw that my sister was getting baptized, and I was like, oh, I want that. That looks good, I want it. And yeah, so I stayed with my older sister for about a year, but then, like I said, she has a son, so she couldn't look after us, so I ended up staying with my second oldest sister. From then on, everything looked like it was going to be better, but I was in the care system at this point because of everything that had happened with my previous person I was staying with. And I was doing great in school, but at the same time, I was going through a lot of hardship. Like, that's when all the emotions and feeling abandoned and all this type of feelings were in my heart, because I went through all this abuse and I never told them. I never told my sisters. I told them last year. Yeah, so I never told them anything, and it was all in my heart. I kind of just tried to shove it down and go along with things. I remember always something my my PA, which is like your personal advisor for when you're in the care system, he always says to me, I don't know how you do it, Kevin. All these other kids, they're lashing out, they're going out there and they're doing all kinds of craziness. And I would be sitting there thinking, like, you don't know. Like, I'm not doing any of that stuff, but I'm in so much pain and I can't let it out. And so the way I used to let my pain out was through sports and then my education. So in school, I did really well. I finished GCSEs with A's and B's, pretty much. And then I went to college. I finished college. And my dream, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to uni. I'm going to get a good job. I'm going to start my own family for myself. Because I never spoke to them and I never gave them a chance to explain what was happening. I just assumed that they didn't really care about me like that, even though I was staying with my sister. That's how I felt inside. So I was like to myself, when I get my degree, I'm gonna get myself a job and I'm gonna start my own family and they're gonna love me. That's how I felt. And it wasn't until I got to uni, and then I didn't realize that this whole time that I was in this country, I was not even legal. I wasn't legal. So I think the first time I found out about it is when I was in year 10 or 11, when everyone else went to a France trip. And then I wanted to go. And then I think someone must have called home and then they rang and told me, no, you can't go. And I got home and then they obviously explained to me, look, yeah, you can't go anywhere else, you're not coming back. So at that point, I remember applying for a biometric and I got it. but it's on a 2-year basis. So I went to uni. This was in the first year of getting the biometric. Went to uni now, and then I remember I even messaged student finance and asked them, can I get student finance? Can I go? They said, yes, I can go. You're able to get student finance. So me thinking, yeah, I can go to uni. I went, and then I think the laws must have changed at the time, around that time. So I went, and then when I got there, September, no student finance. October, no student finance. All the way until March, I did not get nothing. All my savings that I had, gone. Because I spent it on just trying to survive at uni. And then got to March time now, and then the uni go to me, or student finance go to me, you can't get student finance for this year, you have to leave. And I was like, what did I take all these exams for then? What do you mean I have to leave? They were like, nah, sorry, you got to leave. And then the uni said to me, you still have to pay the tuition. And it was no longer home student tuition. It was international tuition. So it was like 12K. And they were telling me I had to pay the accommodation I was staying at, that I used my deposit, used my my savings to pay for. Now I had to pay the leftover of that. And then student finance explained to me, oh yeah, you have to be in the country legally 3 years before you can get student finance based on our new rules. And I was like, so no one told me this for how many months? At that time, I was depressed. I was depressed. Like, I didn't realize at the time, but I really was. At the time, all I was doing when I got kicked out was I went home, I was at my sister's house, and then I was just in my room. Didn't speak to anyone. I barely ate. I barely did anything, really. I went to work. That was it. And I think it was mainly because, like I said, instead of dealing with my problems or really getting to know God at this time, I was just trying to use life as a way, or use education as a way to let it all out. And then when that didn't work out for me, I had nothing. So I remember signing up for this thing called Camp America while I was at uni. And obviously I'd started paying for it because I believed that, oh yeah, I'm going to get student finance. I'm working as well. So I was like, I still have a little money, I can pay for it. But obviously I get kicked out, my money's gone. And then I was like, do you know what? I don't even want to go anymore. And my sister, I will always say, she genuinely, God must have spoke to her, because if I didn't go, I feel like I would have done something to myself. She decided to pay for the whole thing for me and sent me to America. 800, I'd only paid like £200.
Wow.
So she paid 600, near enough 600 just for me to go. And she was like, don't worry about it, just go. And I have family over there as well. So she was like, you can go and visit your family. And two of my family members are really into Christ. So when I was out there, they took me to church and stuff like that. And the camp I went to is actually a Christian camp. So when I went there, these kids and stuff, I was a counselor / I was doing training. So my degree I'm doing right now is sport exercise science. So I was training athletes out there, but it was also a Christian camp. So on most days we'd have Bible study, and these kids would ask me questions about God. And I'm like, I don't really know. So I had to go and actually study for myself. And in studying for myself, I found out what the word actually says about me, and me as a person, and that God never left me. And by the time I went to that camp, and I was there for 3 months, when I came back in September, 1, I didn't feel depressed anymore. 2, I hadn't heard from the uni about paying that £12,500. Debt completely gone, depression gone. And when I got home as well, I still had to pay for the accommodation. But when I got home, I went to the local basketball club that I normally went to, and someone offered me a job. And just like that, I had a job within 1 week of being back in the UK.
Wow.
God was so good to me. Even at that point, I still wasn't serious with God. I was still going about my life. I wasn't taking it too serious and that stuff. And it wasn't until I met someone at work who's now one of my really, really close friends. I met her at work, and then she invited me to her church. And through going to her church, she invited me to her uni church now. And I went to her uni church, and it's called Imprint. It's in Leicester. My God, I don't know who this guy was that came, but this guy came and he was giving a message. And he was like, God wants to heal you from everything that you've ever been through. And I was like, I'm not, he was doing an altar call. And I was like, I'm not trying to go up there. I don't want to go. And then she was like, just go. And I was like, stop trying to force me to go. I don't want to go. she pushes me, and obviously I walk up to the front, and the guy starts praying, and I swear to you, he touched me, I dropped. I lost all energy in my body. And I didn't even believe in that type of stuff. When I say to you, I was on the floor, I don't know how long for, but I was in the fetus position, and I was crawled up, and every time I tried to get up, I just couldn't even move. And then God began to show me a vision. And he showed me that when I was in that house with that woman, that I used to cry myself to sleep every night, because I would always be like, oh, where's my sisters? They don't care about me. Where's my mom? She doesn't care about me. And I'd cry. But every time before I fell asleep, I'd feel a peace. And then I'd sleep. And then he showed me all those times, and he showed me that he was there each and every time. And that is why I was able to sleep and go back to days. And he was just showing me through every aspect of my life how he's kept me. Like how every path that I could have gone down, like most of the statistics for people that have been in care is not very good. Not many people go to uni. Not many people have a job. I am where I am now because of God. And that's point blank. From that day, I couldn't live my life the same anymore. I have not heard from the uni about that. I've restarted university. I have a job. He's just been blessing me. Like from that day onwards, since I accepted Christ fully into my life, I'd been baptized. I've been able to speak in tongues, but I wasn't living it. You know how you were saying, like, you believe in Christ, but people kind of still trying to go about their lives. But when that moment happened to me and he showed that he was with me, and I realized that I'm broken. I need help. Like, and he was doing a work on me. Like I said to you, it wasn't up until last year that I actually sat down in the car. I can't even remember where we were going. I think we might have been going to London to see my other sister. She lives in London, my younger one. Well, I'm the youngest, but she's older than me, if that makes sense. And we were just in the car. And I didn't even know what made me say it. But we were just talking about stuff. And then she was like, so what? Because I think they knew something happened, because I changed. From the kid I became a completely different kid. I became very quiet. I became very, I just sat by myself. I didn't talk too much. And I'd always want to be outside with my friends. I never wanted to be alone. And I was never like that. So I think they knew something happened, but they just couldn't put a finger on it. And then I spoke to her and I told her everything that happened, and she began to cry. And she was like, I'm so sorry I couldn't have done something for you. And I was like, well, you couldn't have done anything because I said nothing. And one thing I used to remember is that even when I wanted to tell her, the woman would be sitting there next to me while I was on the phone to my family, listening to everything I'm saying. And I remember one of the things that scared me from actually saying it as well was her brother threatened to kill me. Yeah. So I was so scared to say anything at the time. And when I told her, and then I told my oldest sister, I think she took it the hardest, because she's always been the one that looked after me and my other sister. And when I spoke to her about it, she was like, I am so glad, you found, she doesn't even go to church herself, but she said she's so glad that I found Christ, because the way I was and the way I was going, it wouldn't have ended very well for me. And she was like, I'm so glad you are where you are, because, don't say it, but I'm her favorite sibling. So she was like, I would have been really hurt if you were gone. It's not that they weren't there. It's that circumstances didn't permit it, and that God was there for me. And God was showing me that my testimony would be used to help other people that have been through similar situations. There's so much in it. There's depression, there's anxiety, there's abandonment, and there's all things that God is he's still teaching me to overcome. Do you get me? It's not a one day fix all kind of thing. It's a step-by-step God showing you where you're hurt and where he's trying to heal you, where he's trying to take you. So yeah, that's my testimony in Christ. And since that day, I can say that I'm a happy person. I'm very happy, and my life has never been the same.